Good evening and welcome to the premiere episode of the Jay Duke Show on Jumping Instructors Live. I'd like to thank my producers, Laura Kellan-May and Randy Thompson. They make everything happen for us, and thank you, ladies, for being here. My sponsors, Klondike Victory Farm, Rosemont Still Horses, Equivant, Pacific Equine Sport, theequivault.com, Meraki Creative Group, and the wonderful Brittany Granby, who made all this possible for me. I'm so honored to have as my special guest on my very first show, Guilherme Jorge. He is an FBI Level 4 course designer. He designed the exciting and fan favorite 2005 and 2007 World Cup Finals in Las Vegas, the 2007 and 2019 Pan American Games. He was the course designer in Rio de Janeiro for the 2016 Olympics. Guy, thank you for joining me and welcome to the show.
Jay, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you on your first show.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're excited. We were stuck not being able to go to horse shows, so we decided, well, let's do something different, and here we are.
That's a good idea.
Let's start off. How did you become a world-class course designer? Did you have what was your background in horses growing up?
So, Jay, I started riding in Campinas in my hometown in Brazil at the age of 10. The Hípica in Campinas is a big country club with a lot of sports apart from equestrian. My family didn't have anything to do with horses, but I was at the pool one day, and then I just went to see the horses, and I happened to be at the side of the ring of the riding school, and the instructor knocked the jump. There was nobody there to help, and so my first contact with the horse sport was actually setting up a jump. I jumped up to juniors, meter 30, meter 40 competitions when it was time to choose what to do in life. My father is a doctor, and I love the horses. I love the sport. So I went to vet school, and I practiced as a vet for 8 years. But I moved back to my hometown, and I started also doing some courses. And for 8 years, I did both. I did some smaller shows and practice as a vet. And by 1998, I stopped working as a vet and dedicate myself, became a full-time course designer. Nice. As of your question, and how did I became a international course designer? Well, since I started riding, I got I felt really in love with the horses and the sport, and I saw in course designing another way of participate very, very intensely on the sport. And every time international course designer would go to Brazil to build a course, I would try and work as their assistants, and ended up in 1996. In 1995, working as Leopoldo Palacios' assistant in the Pan Am Games in Buenos Aires. In 1996, as one of the volunteer assistants for Linda Allen at the Atlanta Olympics, and then met a lot of other course designers and start traveling more.
That's a great story. Great story. And it is interesting you did have that background of competing in the show ring. So I do a little bit of course designing, certainly not on the level that you do. And I found it was amazing how many people you have to try to make happy. You know, you're trying to make the riders happy, the trainers happy, the show management happy, the TV happy, the backgate people happy. What do you find are the two biggest challenges in your profession?
Well, I think one thing that helped me a lot is that I worked with a lot of different course designers in the beginning. I would say that Leopoldo and Linda Allen were the ones that I would work more in the beginning, but then I worked with Olaf, with Aki, with Anu Gego, with Steve Stevens, with a lot of course designers, and I tried to learn as much as I could from them. And I also realized that being organized and trying to work smart, being organized, you already make a lot of people happy. You know, like you make your jump crew happy, you make the assistants happy, you make the officials happy. And then you make a lot of people happy. And then, of course, the hardest part of it, the biggest challenge is to get, I think, is to get the correct level of the competition, get the best winner, and that's our goal, to get the best horse rider combination on that given day as the winner. But to do that without asking too much from the horses. The calendar nowadays is way more intense than it used to be 20, 30 years ago. There's so many shows and so many big shows that we need to be very careful when we build these courses, so that we got the correct result, but without asking too much from the horses. So I think that's one of the big challenges. The other one, I think, it's our sport is maybe the only one of the very few that you have the top athletes of the sport competing with you have amateurs riding on the same competition at the highest level. You have amateurs jumping on 5-star competitions. You have amateurs jumping on the Olympic Games, on World Cup finals. So you have many times you have a difference of level, a substantial difference of level. So also that's a big challenge. How can we get the winner, the correct winner, the best horse rider combination at that competition, and balance this with not so experienced athletes?
Yeah, that is, and I love the fact you talk about the horses first. Of course, that's great to hear, and I think everyone watching the show needs to realize that as a horse designer, your number one priority is the safety of those horses, and getting the best performance from them, but at the same time, making sure that the environment is proper for them. So I love the segue what you're talking there about back to the 60s, because that's really what our show is about tonight. Myself as a rider, when I was competing internationally, that I would practice and prepare for the 3 tests that we would see in a course: bravery, carefulness, and scope. The courses of the 60s and 70s were all about, guts and glory and being brave and jumping mountains. And then in the 80s and 90s, it got, some technicality was added to it. So there was still the bravery component, but a little less so. Started to get some technicality. And today, now that's really changed to where it's so technical. The time allows are incredibly tight. The rails, the jumps are very flimsy. They come down if you just breathe on them. And so the sport has really changed. How do you feel about that today? Because the one thing that I see is the technicality here, for instance, the time allowed is such a factor now when it did not used to be. But there's less challenge with the scope and much less challenge with the bravery. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a concern of most of my colleagues as well, is that we need to keep the tradition of the sport. Our sport evolved from the field, it moved from the field to the arenas, and that's why we used to have a way bigger variety on the type of jumps that we would see in a competition. We would for sure have a wall, a big gate, water jump, Liverpool, dry ditch, and that not only on the derbies. Of course, we have the derbies with the Devil's Dyke and the banks and everything, which is a very traditional and interesting competition.
Yes.
But also the variety of the jumps that changed a lot in the past also 20, 30 years.
Yeah, we have a few pictures. Laura, can you put up that the Hogsback picture for us? So Guy, you can take a look at that. This is in the late 60s, something we would not see today.
No, absolutely not. You will not have anything with more than one rail in the second or the third plan, which is way safer. But for sure, you don't test so much the bravery of the horses in many ways. I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. What about Laura? Do we have that second picture? So now this is from the 90s. And so this is where we can see it's kind of in between where we're going. So less materials than we had in the last jump, but still probably not a construction we would commonly see in today's course. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree. But Jay, what I think it's important, and I try to do, of course, it's not always that you are on a place that you have a variety of jumping of obstacles, but you have to test a little bit of everything. So I really try to incorporate on my courses a variety of solid jumps, like the second one you showed us, second photo you showed us, and that is a solid jump. You test a little bit of the bravery of the horse, and you're going to put a big scopy jump with that kind of construction. And of course, after that, you're going to put a very delicate jump that you can test the control and.
Oh, we lose Guy. Looks like we're having a little check. There we go.
All right. Okay.
And here we have a jump from today, which is a fairly modern construction. 4 rails on the front, and it is and obviously it's a good sized jump. So we're still testing the scope and the carefulness of the horse.
Yes, I think the idea, what I like, as I said, I don't know where it was cut off, but what I try to do is mix a little bit, right? You ideally, one of the things that I learned in the beginning, and I think it was in a book from Pamela Carruthers, that was one of the greatest course designers. She was original. The Hickstead resident course designer, and helped a lot in Calgary and Spruce Meadows to the Southern family to set up the what Spruce Meadows, a lot of the fundamentals that Spruce Meadows still carry to the date. And she's one of the things on the book is that you should not ask too many questions on the same jump. So if you're gonna ask for a scope, help the horses a little bit, build a little bit more of a solid jump. When you put your biggest jump in the course, your biggest oxer, you're not also going to make it the most careful jump. You're going to ask for carefulness in a different part of the course.
Excellent. Yeah. Manage the tests that you have, and truly, for everyone out there, nobody is better than Guy. He is amazing how he challenges horses and riders while still being fair at the same time. It's a true form. So Guy brought us a couple courses tonight for us to take a look at. One is from 2002 that he designed, and one is from 2019 that he designed. So we're going to take a little look at that. And Guy, if you're able to see that, if you can take us through this course briefly and just explain how you in say 2-3 minutes how you designed that and what you were looking for as tests at this course in 2002.
So just a little explanation. The next course we're going to see is from last year's. They're both here from Wellington, from the Winter Equestrian Festival. This the course you guys are seeing is the second time I did the main ring in Wellington in 2002. And when I started designing the course last year, I said, okay, there's almost 20 years that I'm designing here at the Grand Prix arena, and I did the triple combination after the water jump, and so that was the beginning for me to designing my course last year. And then I compared the distances, and for me, two of the most one of the things that are evolving more, especially in the past 10 or 15 years, is the length of the stride of the horses and the distances we're having to use now.
Yes.
I think that it's affected by the extreme quality of the footing that the horses and riders are having, being able to jump on. I think that helps. I think the quality of the horses is improving every year, and of course the riders, they are as good as ever, if not better. So I think the length of the stride of the horses, the distances we used to use 15 or in this case 17 years before, I have I signed, I marked down to the distance to the water, 22.2 meters, which is I don't know in feet, but it's back then was a forward 5-stride distance to the water jump.
Yeah.
Today, to get the same result, I'll probably have to add 4 or 5 feet, 1.20 to 1.50 more in the same to get the same 5 strides, comfortable 5 strides.
That's amazing.
And then after the water jump, the triple combination was vertical, 2-stride, 1-stride to the oxa, and it was 1050, which is 25.6 maybe.
Okay.
And 35.6.
Yeah.
Or 35.6, and then the 780 that is like 25 something feet. So it was way shorter than we have today, and we're going to be able to see that on the next course plan.
Okay. Do you want to put that one up then, Laura? We'll put up the next course map and we can do a comparison on that. So I think that really leads to the breeding of the horses and the training of the horses today. Everything from the fitness. I think your point there about the footing is huge. No question about that. The footing is so superior to what we used to do that the horses just cover.
Yeah, and I think.
I also think a lot of today that the American forward system has created a very forward ride to the jumps, and that's got the riders, and the balance of the horse and the quality of the horses is super.
So here we have the distance from the number 4 to number 5 to the water jump would be a 7-stride, but that is 31.5 meters. That is probably 105 feet, which many years ago would be like easily an 8-stride, and that was the distance that we had to put to get a good approach to the water jump. My idea, I love to have the water jump on a big competition, but I always try to make it in a way that the horses jump it well, and we put the questions after. So it was just an idea to compare that. Even on the previous course was 5 strides, this one is 7 strides. The lengths in meters, the distance that the horses cover to are completely different now. And you can see that was the same triple combination, vertical, oxer.
Yes.
But now, not especially, but we are more concerned about. We normally wouldn't use a 2-stride after the water jump, just to be safer and not risk having a horse living in a 1-stride. But I have 8 meters and 8 meters stand. That is 26.4 and 26.8 the distance. So it's way longer than it used to be. So it's also the dimension of the jumps on the course from 2019. The horses are jumping bigger. I agree with you that the tests of scope are not as brutal as they used to be. We used to have like the triple combination, a crazy test of scope. Well, I don't think we do that anymore. But the courses, when you look at it, many of these courses are bigger than they used to be 20 years ago.
Right. And I want to stay on that line for a sec, because that line really grabbed my attention when you sent that map. The technicality of having the bending line to the triple, I mean, obviously complications with it because of the bending line, but the fact that you have it after the open water is so challenging to both horse and rider. For the horse, such a balance test, and then for the rider, horses land they land very differently off of that water is probably 14 foot long, 14 foot wide, so they land very differently off that, and you never know exactly how your horse is going to land off of an open water. So, and then the width of the water is very wide. It's probably 14, 15 feet wide as well from standard to standard. So there's a lot of variables that are going to go into how that 7-stride is going to ride to the triple.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at that on paper and I'm like, wow, that's a really, really challenging test for the riders.
Yeah, no, but the level of competition, especially that was the last week of the circuit here, and it's a very, very high level of competition for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's brilliantly done. It definitely grabbed my attention. Okay, great. Well, thank you for doing those. Let's move on to the next Olympic Games. You were the course designer for Rio, which was brilliantly, no question about that. I think it was probably the best Olympics I've ever watched as far as the quality of the show jumping. And let's talk about the specs 2020, because there's been several changes there. There's several changes as far as what's going on with the Nations Cups and the Olympic Games and all of that. Can you tell us what you know about the technical changes for the course for climbing?
Well, talking before only about the technical aspects of the course itself, I think that the Rio Olympics, the result, the way the horses jump, such big and difficult courses, showed a little bit that the rules were a little bit outdated. As a course designer, I had a limitation, and me and my team, we could only have 12 jumps and 15 efforts in the individual final in the first round, and then 10 jumps and 13 efforts in the second round, and with a minimum length of 450 meters. That means that the jumps need to be more spread to get that minimum length of the course. Yeah. I went back and looked after the games, and from the 50 or 52 5-star Grand Prix that we had, one or two only, and indoors, had only 12 jumps in the first round. I think the way the course designing is evolving, that you're don't ask too much from the horse in a single jump. That helps. The more jumps you can make more subtle questions and have the rails instead of having only 10 or 12 and have to ask too much in one or two jumps. So after Rio, the FEI, I think already for wagon trial, they changed the maximum height to 1.65 m and not 1.60 m like we had at the Olympics, and gave the course designer the flexibility of using up to 14 jumps and 18 efforts. And for Tokyo, in the individual final, the course designer will be able to have 15 jumps and 19 efforts if he wants, like 2 doubles and a triple. That will give for sure the course designer, and Santiago was my technical delegate, and he's a good colleague, and I'm sure he's going to do a great job. Will give him more possibility of creating the test in a way that he's probably going to be able to get the number of outs, but without asking too much in one specific jump. So I think that was a good change on the rules, because if we have 1.65 m and 15 jumps, that doesn't mean we need to go that far, but for sure we will be able, the course designer will be able to ask a lot of questions on the ring and get the correct result.
So that sounds like an excellent change. How long before the Olympic Games, as a course designer, do you start preparing for that event with the course?
Well, I start playing with it, I would say 1.5 years before. Like I was appointed, the result of the tender process was done in October 2014. And I think I started working, like, I don't know, January, or I start playing and trying to get the 5 courses that I had to do.
Wow. So that's quite a process. How much time do you spend at the actual ring, and setting it up, and do do you do any test riding or test courses, or put anything up as far as building it, or is it all done on paper? How does that work?
When you get to games like that, and the first time that I went to the Olympics with Linda Allen in Atlanta, as I said, we had a wonderful team. Like I would say, like at least 20 course designers, and from all the levels, and it was a big chance for me. And every time I had the chance to be the head course designer of games like the two Pan Am Games and the Rio Olympics, I had an incredible team behind me, from national level course designers to Olympic course designers. So when we come to build the course, and in games like this, it's very interesting because you do 95% of the course, you build it in, I don't know, 2 hours. But
Wow.
then there are the details that are going to take like forever for you to finish. So a build of a course can take, like 4 or 5 hours, because there are some minor details that are waiting for a specific gate to be adapt or corrected, because you have such a variety, and some stuff you need to do minor changes at the end. But normally you have a good team behind you, and makes it easier.
Yes, no, for sure. That, and what an amazing thing to work with up to 20 world-class course designers.
No, that was very good for sure.
That's a lot of learning and a lot of brilliance. What do you see as far as the sport moving forward? To attract the audiences, particularly in North America. Audience is participation and such in Europe and Western Europe is amazing, and what the Global Champions Tour has done is super popular with people, and the venues they're using. What could be done as far as, from your point of view, with the courses and the classes and the class types in North America to bring viewers in?
I think I think we have to understand also that even in Europe, it's not all the events that have a lot of spectators and a lot of public, and because a lot of the shows here in the United States, in North America, and in the whole America, there are a lot of shows that are not schooling shows, but are not the main events. And I think that happens the same in Europe. You have a lot of shows there that doesn't have a lot of public, doesn't have a lot of coverage. I think it's a difficult question, because it is a very specific sport. It's very specific sport. Unfortunately, the easiest competitions for the public, for the crowd to understand, they are becoming less and less popular, because the horses are becoming are more expensive, they are more sensible, so there are less people that want to jump the puissance competitions, the 6-bar competitions, the derby competitions that are the roots of the sport. It's been more and more difficult to get that type of competition, that it's an instant crowd pleaser. No, you have a puissance, everybody is thrilled to see the horse jumping higher and higher. So I think it's a very difficult it's a very difficult task. You have some places that have done a great job here in the United States, in Canada, in Mexico, and we can get a decent crowd. But it's a difficult sport to get people interested in.
Yeah, and I mean, it's wildly popular within its niche, of course.
Absolutely, yes.
The people in the sport are so passionate, such as yourself, and you can really see the love that you put into what you do. Again, for everyone out there, he was always my favorite course designer to ride. Of course,
Thank you, man.
Always challenging, always fun, always fair. And you got out of there with a clear win. You were a pretty happy rider, that's for sure.
That's good.
Where are we going to? Next courses are going to resume in 2020. Where are we going to see you next, if that's the case?
So hopefully, there's been a lot of talk here about the shows coming back with, of course, new protocols of social distancing and how we're going to be able to get back. I think back to your previous question, this might help the industry now because in whole America, in North America, and Central South America, a lot of the horse shows are funded by the competitors and not so many crowds. So on this particular situation, it might help the industry not suffer so much as many other sports that has a big part, or in Europe that the sport has some shows has a big part of the revenue coming from spectators. So here, it might be easier to restart again. Hopefully, I have shows scheduled to go to Blenheim in San Juan Capistrano next month. The Split Rock show in Kentucky, Tryon. So we hopefully our things are gonna start going back to normal, and we're gonna be able to see each other again at the horse shows.
Yes, absolutely. Derek Braun, who was a future guest on our show here in June, is very excited to have you as a guest.
Yes. We're hopefully it's gonna be during his show. I didn't see the date exactly, but hopefully we're gonna be together in Kentucky.
Well, thank you. Join me next week for Heads Up, everything you need to know about concussions. I'm going to be talking to a panel of head safety experts in the racehorse industry. It's such an important topic about concussions and head safety and rider safety. That's it for tonight. Thanks for being here. It was a lot of fun. Ride safely and always respect the horse.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, everybody, for watching us.